I'm going to go to Katie in Florida. She has a question. Katie, how are you today?
Hi, Beth Ann. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
This has been really interesting. But I was wondering, so I'm from Florida, and they're, always debating whether or not to ban fracking. Hasn't happened yet, which sounds like a good thing. But I'm wondering, with the red tide has gotten really, really bad, and they say it's because of pollution. Is that something that fracking could be making worse? Is that something we should be concerned about?
Okay, Chris?
Now, the red tide is not from fracking. It's from nitrogen, fertilizer we use in agriculture that runs off, that helps plants grow. It also can help organisms in the sea grow. So really, I think it's better irrigation practices, some stuff we can do to prevent agricultural fertilizer from running off. Nothing to do with.
We're going to go to Kendall in St. Louis, Missouri. Kendall, how are you today? Kendall, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm sorry. I'm doing well. How are you, Beth?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
You're more than welcome.
So I am originally from Texas, and we've seen a lot of fracking there, which has led to a pretty big increase of transport trucks on highways and interstates and even on these more rural roads, which has led to a lot of complaints about traffic. So what I'm wondering is there a reason that this oil is transported primarily by truck, at least in Texas, and not by pipeline? Does the oil need to be transported by truck versus by a pipeline?
Okay, good question. Chris?
Oh, it's a fabulous question, because it is one of the most visible impacts when a shale revolution or fracking arrives. The most obvious thing right away is, wow, there's a lot of trucks. And the short answer to that is no, the oil does not. There's nothing different about the oil. It's actually a higher quality oil, meaning low viscosity. It's not black. It's kind of green or yellow. It's almost clear. But the reason is when it arrives and you have a surge of production, you quickly fill up the existing pipelines. And until new pipelines can get built, trucks are the way that sort of fills the gap and moves the oil until new pipelines catch up with the infrastructure.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kendall. That was a great question. Thank you. Because I know that was one on the pros and con list. That was something that somebody was concerned about, was the high traffic area. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Kendall. I want to go to Tom in Kansas City. Tom, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Beth Ann?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to ask Chris, I'm originally from upstate New York.
Okay.
Pretty big debate going on there about fracking. And across the border in Pennsylvania, they're bringing in a lot of new jobs for fracking because that is allowed there. But Andrew Cuomo recently decided that he was not going to allow fracking in the state. And I just wanted to ask, what do you say to folks like him and to politicians or environmentalists who don't want fracking in their neighborhoods? What can they do, in terms of jobs and in terms of economic impact in a lot of communities where there aren't a lot of jobs?
Yeah, look, I think what's happened in New York is very unfortunate. It's really a property rights issue. The farmers and ranchers out there generally own the mineral rights beneath their land. So in North Dakota, it sort of reinvigorates farms. There's income that makes farms viable, makes the economy grow. Obviously they're huge consumers of natural gas in New York. It's not that they don't use it or don't believe in it, but I think it's been a little bit of you've got people with vacation homes. They're wealthy. They don't care as much about minerals, and, they don't want to see trucks on the road. And then you've got people that live in these rural communities, and, of course, they generally want the economic activity. So it's the trade-off between those two parties. And unfortunately in New York, not the local folks, the farmers, the small-town dwellers haven't won. And I think it's very unfortunate for Western New York.
Does that answer your question, Tom?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We're going to go to Andrew in Maryland. Andrew, how are you today?
Hi, Beth Ann. I'm great. Thanks so much for taking my call.
You're more than welcome.
I have a question for Chris. Maryland energy prices, like my home and my heating and electric bills, have just sort of started to skyrocket in the past few years. Chris, is there any sort of correlation between the fracking boom and personal expenses? Because at least here where I live in Maryland, we don't feel the positive benefits.
Now, Andrew, that's a great question. I don't know what's driving utility rates in Maryland, but let me make a few general comments. Just 10 years ago, natural gas produced a little more than 10% of U.S. electricity. This year, it'll be about 40%, by far the largest producer of U.S. electricity. So for 39 states in the country, we've actually seen declines in inflation-adjusted electricity rates, utility rates. In 11 states that have had renewable mandates, so they've got, they're requiring wind and solar, not market-based wind and solar, but requiring it into the grids. This significantly raises the price of energy. So 11 states have had meaningful rises in electricity and utility bills, and the other 39 states, they've actually risen slower than inflation. So in real terms, actually a small decline. I'm betting Maryland is one of those 11, but I don't know for sure.
Interesting. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for calling in. I think you're a first-time caller. Appreciate that.
I am. Thanks so much, Beth Ann.
Thank you. You're welcome.